I cannot believe what I've just seen. Honestly, I dug deep into the WWE Network trying to find something that I had never seen before, but I had only heard about. I remember back in 1991 going to the local grocery store, and as my dad cashed out, going over and reading the wrestling magazines and seeing the WCW magazine sitting there on the shelf, opening it up and seeing the pictures from the Halloween Havoc 1991 pay-per-view. There they had a match called the Chamber of Horrors match, which basically to me looked like a steel cage match with an electrocution chair sitting in the middle of it. The electrocution chair, of course, is what they would put prisoners in prison when they were, chosen to be sentenced to death. They'd be put into the chair, they'd flip the switch, electricity would run through that person's body to the point where they were finally killed, and then they would be rest in peace from there on out. I'm not sure if they bury those people or, burn them, or maybe they do whatever they do with whatever families there are. But this is the match that has honestly been in my mind as something from wrestling's history that I needed to check out, and tonight was the night. I was thinking about it being Halloween time, with it being in October, and I said, I am going to find this match. This match was never repeated and never really spoke about from WCW ever again. It should have been one of my hints that the Chamber of Horrors matches was one of the worst wrestling stipulation matches of all time. When I went over to the Wikipedia page to get all the names and numbers about who was in this match to let you guys know, little surprise that WCW had this match booked as a big time sort of clusterfuck. The guys that were chosen to be in this match and advertised basically were pulled even at the last minute. We saw an injury during the pre-show that led to people getting replaced. The final match ended up being El Gigante, Sting, and the Steiner brothers going up against Abdullah the Butcher, the Diamond Stud, a.k.a. Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, Cactus Jack, and Big Van Vader, 4-on-4. I was thinking I could watch this and review this as part of the Hell in a Cell series that I've been doing, but WCW had a steel cage that was mostly very open. If you can think of the way that the steel cage was back in the 80s for the WWF, the classic blue style, this was like steel bars, but they're mostly like wrought iron bars, I guess you can say. They're not real big and thick around like the imposing sort of WWF ones, looking like, if you took a headbutt into these things are going to effing hurt. The WCW cage at the time was very open to the point where you can shoot a camera through it, and it was very, easy to get through. I think that was one of the things that they were really hoping for, but when you look at the cage, it doesn't really look like something that if you got your head banged into it, it's really going to knock you out or kill you. The cage doesn't have a top on it. The cage has, it goes up to, it seems like at least 12 to 15 feet. And then at the top, almost if you can think of like an Asian style roof, it comes in, but there's no top on it. Basically, all 8 members of this match go down to the ring, and as the last few good guys are getting into the cage, there's just chaos breaks out. People break out and they start fighting in every different direction, and basically, Rick Steiner is running around and he has a chainsaw in his hands that you can definitely tell that the engine is not running, but he's chasing people with this chainsaw, and people are on the run. This was a very weird match. The match is only 12 minutes long. The electrocution sort of chamber chair isn't in the ring when this match first starts. The match had to go for about 5 minutes, and then basically there was no rules in the match. Everybody finally got in there. I didn't see if there was a door on the cage, but everybody finally got in, and then they stayed in. There's no tags. It's just random fighting all over the place. I can tell you that El Gigante, basically the Giant Gonzalez, as you might know him from WWF, he's in this match. I don't know if you guys know the story of El Gigante, but basically He was signed to play basketball for the Atlanta Hawks because of his giant 7-foot size. They quickly found out that he had no basketball skills. Ted Turner looked at the guy as maybe some sort of a savior and basically hooked him up with WCW to have him go in there and be trained as a wrestler. I can easily tell you that El Gigante, when he was booked as a face, was over back in 1991 in WCW. More over than the Great Khali was. People looked at him and feared him. They booked him right. His matches weren't good. They were probably some of the worst matches in WCW in 1991. But they seemed to put him in the right places at the right times, and people really looked at him as a guy that could be there. Of course, everybody knows that WWF would take El Gigante and make him a Giant Gonzalez, putting him into a feud with The Undertaker, and they really saw a future in this guy, that they could really turn him around, and little did they know, there was no saving this guy. And the attire that they put him in didn't help him either. But El Gigante and Abdullah the Butcher, they sort of follow each other around a lot during this match, and they're really not in this match too much. But then again, WCW, their camera angles, they never really help them out. In order to show the whole ring and the whole cage at the same time, they have to pan way out with the camera, and it just seems like you're watching the show from, like, maybe even the last row in the 100 sections. You can see there's stuff going inside the ring, but you can't tell anything that's going on inside there. They do have a camera inside the ring, which looks like is sort of like a cameraman walking around with a camera, and I don't know why they don't use that camera angle more often. They also are trying to get this thing over. It's called the referee cam, where basically the referee is wearing some sort of device with the camera on side, but basically if he stands in one place, you can definitely tell that the camera footage is coming off of less quality of camera, but at least it's clear. But if the referee is moving into position or trying to get out of the way of the wrestler, it easily becomes very staticky, and you can not really tell what's going on inside of the ring. They were sort of in front of the ball on that one. We've seen that the referee eye cam has been used a few times. I think Raw even pulled one out a few years ago, just decided that it wasn't going to work. But they're always looking for new things to do, and WCW was in front of the ball on that one. After about 5 minutes into the match, the electrocution chair is lowered into the middle of the in the ring. Rick Steiner, I don't know if he was trying to make sure, because Mick Foley was laying on the ground selling at the point, if he was trying to get the electrocution chair to come down and squish Mick Foley, but it awfully looks like he's trying to position the chair into the right spot, into the middle of the ring as they lower it down. I'm not quite sure on what they have there. Whole bunch of weapons inside of this ring. It seems like there's a few kendo sticks. At one point, I think it's Scott Steiner comes running throughout the ring and just whaps Mick Foley. Cactus Jack is on the outside. Immediately, they have the best camera angle in the house as his forehead just splits open and blood just starts gushing out everywhere. It's one hell of a match. It's not good by far, but basically you see a whole bunch of carnage of just the biggest guys in wrestling. Vader, Cactus Jack, and Abdullah the Butcher just laying the boom on everybody. You see sort of gang-style warfare as they're trying to gang up. Scott Steiner, no, I apologize, Rick Steiner is put into the chair a few times. And at one point, Rick Steiner is fighting off Abdullah the Butcher, and the Butcher almost has Rick Steiner into the chair. And at the last minute, you see Rick Steiner sort of do like a belly-to-belly suplex, where he suplex, and it doesn't really suplex. I mean, just he sort of picks him up and turns around and puts him in the chair. I guess is the best way to say it. He straps on and locks in the arms, and then he puts the helmet on him. And at this point, Cactus Jack, who's not paying attention to the match, but is trying to play off for the crowd, climbs up to the top of the cage. He flips the switch on his own partner. And, basically WCW, they tried their really best to make them sure they pulled this off as some sort of a electrocution is going down in the ring. But then again, you can think about how the corporate, Turner people are. They're not allowed to say that it's electrocution. They're not allowed to say it's electrocution chair. They're just saying that he's getting cooked inside of the ring. They have smoke coming up from the bottom of the ring. They have like a 4th of July firework display, which honestly looks like the fireworks you would buy at your firework booth on your local corner in front of your grocery store or at your gas station. With, the sort of spinners that go off and some, sparklers that... It's not very realistic. But then again, as I was a kid in 1991... It was pretty cool to see in the magazine. I was glad I got to see this finally. But like I'm saying, this isn't good by far. But 1991 WCW, I think that mostly if you're thinking about what's good, you're thinking about things that have like singles matches for the titles. It's going to be like Lex Luger versus Ron Simmons, which was the main event of this show. Rick Rude makes his debut here. You're going to think of, the Vader matches, things like that. Those are the things that you're looking for in good WCW. Most of these pay-per-views that you're going to be watching, 3/4 of the show is going to be beyond the point of horrible, and you're just looking for the one little break in the action. I tried to watch this whole show. I just got to the point where there's too many guys I didn't care about. There was a PM News. He came down for a promo, not really a promo, but his rap to the ring, and that sort of got me entertained. But then again, he's in a match with Big Josh going up against the Creatures. Didn't really spark me that much. Maybe I like to check out that Rick Rude match against Tom Zink. Tom Zink's a guy that I always remember as being really good as I watched him as a kid, and he just sort of disappeared from wrestling. Maybe that Lex Luger versus Ron Simmons will go down in 2 out of 3 falls for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, but I'm not quite sure. Peace out, everybody.